All right. So, my name is Henry, and I'm the current IT consultant for Middleview Hospital. And I'm here to present to you some changes or change management policies and procedures that needs to go into our IT department or need to be well acknowledged, because we had an incident recently that shut down some of our IT or health systems in one department, and I've taken the trouble to come out here and explain, as to what needs to be done properly and what needs to be followed in terms of change management procedures. And as you can see on the screen, simply we have different things that goes into changes, and if we are to effect any changes in our IT protocols here, there are steps to follow. So we are assessing for change, we are preparing for change, and we are planning for change, implementing change, and sustaining those changes, just to bring us some success. Okay. So what is the definition when we say change management? It's simply the application of the set of tools, processes, skills, and principles for managing the people side of change to achieve the required outcomes of a change project or initiative. The goal is to specify a methodological framework for management procedures, methods, processes, and sustainable solution development. Okay, so the situation we had here was simply that the respiratory therapy department was unable to document or chart patients' data as a result of disruptions in our ER systems. Now, what caused that? As the background case, a bedside nurse had requested a change in the nursing documentation. In response to that, a personnel from the IT department went ahead to effect these changes or to take care of the nurse's complaint by proceeding to initiate a change that the nurse had requested for. Unknown to both the nurse and IT analyst, the nurse department shared the documentation with the respiratory therapy unit. Thus, there was a major disruption in the ability of the respiratory therapists to enter chart data into their system as a result of the changes implemented by the IT department at the request of the bedside nurse. So there was so many calls going around, and the IT department decided to restore the default system to reverse the systems that serve the nurse group to work in order for that of the respiratory unit to also the systems in the respiratory unit to also work properly, because they shared the systems together. Okay, so what we do to avoid some of these occurrences in our hospital? Okay, well, there has to be some change controls in place, and change controls simply means systematic approach to managing all changes made to a system. The main purpose of that too is to ensure that that unnecessary changes are made, and that all changes are documented and also protected against unnecessary disruptions in services, like we saw in the case we looked at before this, and also that the resources are used efficiently. Okay, so these are some of the processes and procedures when it comes to effecting changes. Okay, so it has to be planned. Okay, change coordinators and specialists and employ this process to prepare the implementation plans for changes, and those changes have to be approved. You have to have a whole group or team members on board. Okay, so the change manager and approvers follow this procedure to approve the planned changes, And we also have the implementation stage of the change, where specialists use the process to implement infrastructure changes. Then there's the closure part of the change, where specialists follow the procedure when they perform production tests after changes have been implemented, and change coordinators employ it when they close out the changes. Okay, so these are the final stages. So also along the line of procedures and policies and processes, we are sure that, we have to be assuring that all proposed changes are evaluated for their benefits, risk, and that all impacts are considered. Okay, we have to prioritize these changes. There could be so many changes in line, but we have to prioritize some of these changes. The one that is most needed has to be done, and the one that produces the greatest benefit based on our needs here at the hospital. And we also require that all changes are thoroughly tested, and that each deployment includes a backout plan to restore the state of the environment in the event that the deployment fails, just like we restored the systems back from the nurse's bed situation, and then that restored that of the respiratory therapy systems back so they could enter their data. We also have to ensure that the configuration management system is updated to reflect the effect of the changes. So this is some model that I looked at, and I thought I could chip that in here. And this is by Dr. John Carter. Carter is a Harvard Business School professor, renowned and a renowned change expert, who introduced this model a while back after researching on about 100 organizations who were going through change procedures. Okay, and he states that for suggested change to be successful, 75% of the practice team needs to also buy into the change. They have to be on board. Okay, he developed this model after observing numerous organizations before, during, and after the process of transforming or executing their strategies. So he breaks down organizational change leadership into the following change management steps. Okay, and in his steps, you can see he talks about creating a climate for change, engaging and enabling the organization, implementing and sustaining the changes, and also thinking of the change processes as a journey. Okay, the journey will be smoother if everyone understands. Okay, so you look at the current state and the future state. Okay, the change control meetings has to be organized too, and in these meetings we have to have all the representatives from the different departments, because the system affects all departments. So we have to sort and have representation. Okay, to discuss the major changes and also discuss the project proposal, review change logs to discuss and suggested projects or upgrades from individual departments, and also meet to discuss, resolve, and decide on the problem and act by consensus. Okay, not just one person somewhere, or it's a whole team approach. And these are some of the recommendations. We have to have the logs used to log in problems, so management can assess the problems and make improvements to the problems. Problems of the EHR must go through the proper channels to discuss thoroughly by team members, so that we can avoid mistakes like it happened in the nursing and the respiratory department case. Then we have to have also departmental discussions to encourage suggestive changes from some of these professionals, like the physicians and nurses and all that, and to pass on the appropriate quotas for address. Okay, so we have to communicate to the end users what we're doing, what has been done, staffs, physicians, and all that. And the staff include physicians' input, to effect these changes, and there must be training programs in place to advance some of the programs and changes that has occurred. Okay, update staff on the current changes and new technologies. And these are my references. Thank you, and hopefully we'll come back here again and talk about things that need to be done.